Today I want to show you what I actually do when somebody brings me work that is not right yet. All of it, including the part where I do nothing to the document, and I want to explain why I almost never fix it, and even when fixing it would take me just 4 minutes. And I can see exactly what is wrong. Let us start with an ordinary workday. Someone on your team sends you a client update. A milestone has slipped and they have written the email telling the client about it. You read it and you can feel that it is not right. It is vague about what actually happened. It doesn't say clearly what we are taking responsibility for, and the next step is somewhere in the last paragraph softened until it means nothing. It is not a bad email exactly, it is just an email that will make the client ask 3 questions back. So you do what any of us would do. You paste it into AI and you ask for something clearer, more direct, more professional, and after 30 seconds it's genuinely better. Now its structure is tighter, the delay is stated plainly. There is a clear next step at the bottom with a date on it. You change a word or two because you always do, and you send it. The client replies saying, "Thanks for the heads up, nothing burns down." That took you 4 minutes. I want to be careful here because this is the part people get wrong about what I am saying. That was a good use of AI. The email really was better. You were busy, the client was waiting, and you had a tool that turns a weak draft into a strong one in half a minute. Refusing to use it would have been precious, so let us agree on that and move past it, because the problem is not in those 4 minutes at all. Look at what was actually sitting inside that email. 3 things had to be decided before anybody could write a single sentence. What does this client genuinely need to understand about the delay? What are we owning here and what are we are not? And what should happen next? By whom, by when? Those are not writing decisions. Those are the email. Everything else is just presentation. Now AI answered all 3, not badly. It looked at the draft, worked out roughly what a professional client update sounds like, and it also produced language that covers all 3 convincingly. What it could not do is know which of them was true for this client on this project after this particular slip. It made the email sound like somebody had decided. Nobody had decided. That is the problem here. And here is where the cost arrives. It doesn't arrive today. Today is fine. Client got the email and you move on. It arrives the next time something slips, because the same person writes the same kind of draft and it lands on your desk. Again, it's here and it's vague and it's in 3 places. You will fix it again 4 to 5 more minutes, and you will do it month after that and the month after that. And at no point does it feel like a problem. Why? Because each individual instance costs you almost nothing, few minutes. That is the thing I want to see you. You didn't save 20 minutes when you fixed that email, you booked them. And There is a belief underneath this, and most of us have never said it out loud. The belief is that correcting somebody's work is a form of coaching, showing them a better version, let them see the difference, and they will absorb it. It feels reasonable. It is how a lot of us were brought up in our own careers. But nobody has ever learned to make a decision by reading somebody else's answer. You can read 100 good client updates and still not know what to own when a project slips. Because owning it is a judgment about the relationship and the risk and what the client can handle. And none of that is visible in the finished text. The text is where the judgment ended up. It is not where the judgment happened. So the work got better. Nobody got better at work. You see the problem here? Here is what I do instead, and it is smaller than people expect. When the draft lands and it is not right, I do not open it. I go back to the person and ask one question. What does this client actually need to understand here? Now, what should the email say? Not that. They need to understand. Those pull in completely different directions. One is about wording and the other is about the situation. And the second one is one they cannot outsource. And I wait because the first answer is usually a version of the draft. Read back to me. That is fine. I ask it again in a different way. If this client only reads one sentence, which sentence is it? Now they have to choose. And choosing is the thing that was missing. Then, once that is settled, one more. What are we talking? Who is taking responsibility for here? Two questions. That is the whole method. I did not ask about next steps because once you know what the client needs to understand and what we are owning, the next step falls out on its own. It answers itself. If it doesn't, the first two were not really answered. And notice what I'm not doing. I'm not asking them to justify themselves. I am not walking them through my version. I'm not teaching them how to write a client email, which they can find in 10 seconds anywhere. I'm not asking them to I'm just asking them to make decisions they skipped. And then I am letting them go and write it. So what changes in the same working day here? The email still goes out today. The client still gets it before the end of the day. AI still does the wording in the same few seconds. It's still better than what the person would have written alone. Nothing about the tools is changing here, and nothing about the deadline is changing here. What's changing here is the only thing that moves is order. The person decides what is in it, and then the machine makes it sound better. Same day, same tools, different order, and the person now owns what went out. Now you might be sitting there thinking that this is fine in theory and you do not have time for it. The client needs answer today, and our conversation about what they need to understand is a luxury for a quieter week, yes. And I understand that completely, and I want to take it seriously rather than talk around it. But look at what you are actually choosing between. You are not choosing between coaching and shipping. The email goes out today in both versions. 4 minutes of what we actually are saying doesn't delay anything, it changes what inside the thing is you sent out. The 20 minutes is the part that repeats. The rewrite is the recurring cost, not the conversation. And the conversation is the only one of the two that ever ends. So why does this keep happening to good managers? Not because they are lazy, and not even because they do not care about developing people. Most of the managers I work with care a great deal about it. It keeps happening because fixing is visible and judgment is not visible. You can see a better email, you can send it and watch the client respond well and feel that something was accomplished because something was. You cannot see a better judgment. It shows up in months later in a draft that never needed fixing, and by then nobody connects it back to that 4-minute conversations you had on that working day, including you. So here we do things, I think that is carelessness, that is a reward system, and it is working exactly as designed. It's not carelessness. I want to give you a real one because I have been describing a pattern and you should see it land somewhere. Last week, an operations manager brought me a task. His job is pulling together operations reports and turn them into a summary for leadership. And he wanted AI to take that over. This is a reasonable task for AI. It's really good at it, that kind of work. And the draft it produces is really competent. I don't rewrite it. It would have been quicker for me and it would have looked more impressive as well. What I gave him instead was 3 lines where his own judgment had to stay. Keep the summary separate from the recommendations because AI can organize the evidence, but deciding what leadership do about it is his call. And it should look like his call. Treat a recurring issue as a human judgment, not a data field only, because saying something is recurring is really saying somebody has not fixed it. And that is a claim about people. And never let it attribute performance to a name team. Because the moment a trend points at who is responsible, you have crossed out of operations and into a decision about a person. And that has a different owner entirely. 3 distinctions, no rewriting, and what comes back was this. They are what transformed it from a task description into a practical governance document. That's what he said. He can make those calls himself now on the next report without me. That is the difference between improving one summary and improving the person who produces them. So let me put this where it actually belongs, because it is not really a coaching tip. If work in your organization only becomes good when it reaches one particular person, then that person is your quality system. Nobody wrote that down anywhere, no policy says it, the workflow says it. Every week, quietly. And you will not find it on any dashboard because the output looks fine. The emails go out, the clients are satisfied, the reports are clean. What you cannot see from the numbers is whether your team is getting stronger or just borrowing strength from a tool and a manager who keeps stepping in. AI made the rescue faster. It didn't make it any less of a rescue. Every time you fix it, you book the next time.